Hello everyone, it's me, Faye. It's been more than 3 months since my last video, and it's been more than 2 months since the release of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Today we'll be talking about its boss descriptions, which means that there'll be spoilers in this video for everything in the game. First, let's follow up on my previous video. In that video, we talked a bit about a description from the original Return to Dreamland, that being Maglar Souls. I mentioned how the second line of the description was not translated in the English version. This second line asks you to free Maglar's soul, which is enslaved by hatred and obsession. This description is updated in Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and now contains this tidbit of information. I do have other qualms regarding this description, but we'll get to that later. While we're following up on my previous video, I just want to make a quick addendum for when I mentioned the dialogue at the ending of Meta Nightmare Returns. In that video, I pointed out that the story of the mode was actually a reference to Meta Nightmare Ultra, but there's actually something I missed. The funny thing is that I discovered this tidbit about 2 months before I made that video, but I forgot about it at the time. There is another reference to Meta Nightmare Ultra's dialogue in Meta Nightmare Returns. When Star Dream summons Sectonia, it says, "Let us bring back the most powerful queen from the void." When Galactic Nova summons Galacta Knight, it says, "I will now summon this great warrior once more." These two sentences are worded the same way in Japanese, something like, "Let us revive the legendary warrior," and "Let us revive the most powerful queen." Anyway, back to the new Kirby game. In the original Wii version, only special bosses had pause descriptions, such as Grand Doomer, Landia, and Magolor. Even the lore didn't have its own pause description. But now, every boss in the game has their own boss description. In addition, the Sphere Doomers also have their own descriptions. And in these descriptions, there's a very unique quirk from Star Allies and Forgotten Land that you might have thought wasn't in this remake. Well, in fact, it's not in this remake. Not for English fans, because the translators didn't seem to realize it was there. What is this unique feature? Titles for all of the bosses. Yes, that's right. There are boss titles in the Japanese descriptions of Return to Dreamland Deluxe, but they aren't translated properly into the English version of the game. So with that said, let us peruse through all of the game's boss descriptions and see what titles the bosses have. First up is the Sphere Doomer description. Sphere Doomer's title is Wings That Span Another Sky. This term, Iku, is another term used to describe another dimension. In fact, it's literally the term another dimension in Japanese. Ikukan, without the last kanji. Kukan means space or area, but ku alone means sky. In this game, the dimensions of Maglar Epilogue use the term Iku. Anyway, this boss title, Wings That Span Another Sky, actually derives from the tougher Greater Doomer description in the Kirby Clash games. The sentence says, "Its wings that span dimensions blend into the dark, black night." Another interesting thing about this description is how it's translated to English. While later descriptions just sort of remove the boss's title, it looks like the translator in this case was completely confused by the title, and thought it was some regular sentence. They interpret it by saying that the Sphere Doomer has flown in from a different dimension. Anyway, next up is Wispy Woods. Quite unremarkably, Wispy Woods reprises his boss title from Star Allies, just as King Dedede and Meta Knight did in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. His title is Guardian of the Forest. How expected of Wispy Woods. Following is Mr. Duder. His title is Magician of a Foreign Nation. They still mention that he's a magician in the English description, for some reason swapping it into the next sentence where he's called a dangerous entertainer, but there's no mention of him being foreign. Following that, we have Fatty Puffer. His description calls him the Great Glutton of the Great Sea. This is still there in his English description. After that, we have Goliath. His title is Hooligan Hanging in the Snowy Mountains. Now, I should take this opportunity to tell you that the extra bosses do not have their own titles. However, Goliath X does seem to have one. That title is Lord of the Mountain Covered in Perpetual Snow. In both these descriptions' English translations, the information is conveyed as a sentence. Next, we have Grand Doomer. Its title is Giant Golden Bird Flying in Another Sky. At least the word golden is still there. Very cool. The next description we'll look at is Metal General. His title is Heartless Guard Robot. They kept this info in the English description as well. Moving on, this is probably very easy to miss, so I'll mention it anyway. There's a different pause description for the twin sphere Doomer fight in Halcondra, but it does not have a title in it. So the next description we'll be talking about is Landia's. Technically, from here on, it's not as clear-cut whether the text is specifically meant to be like a boss title or just generally descriptive text. But anyway, Landia is known as the four-headed guardian deity. This title is actually from the Kirby Wii Music Selection, an official Club Nintendo music album for the original Wii version, released only in Japan. In this album, Landia's music track is called Four-Headed Guardian Deity, Landia. This music track keeps the same name in the deluxe version's jukebox, but in English, they for some reason just call it Guardian Angel Landia. Meanwhile, the English description keeps the four-headed part but just translates it as Guardian. For the record, Guardian Deity being translated as Guardian Angel first happened in Kirby Clash as well. Next up, we have Lore Starcutter. This one's actually a bit of an interesting case. In Japanese, you can see it has the title of A Ship That Soars the Heavens. But you can also see that it's just named Lore, with no sign of the term Starcutter. The name Lore Starcutter, and the title Ship That Soars the Heavens, also originates from the original Wii version of the game. In Return to Dreamland, a title card shows up for each level you visit. In the Japanese version, this card displays the level's name in both Japanese and English. In the case of all the levels, even level 8, the Japanese and English are 1-to-1, as the Japanese names are just the English names pronounced out in katakana. However, there's also a card for visiting the Lore Starcutter. Unlike the levels, the Lore's name is actually in Japanese. So as you can see here, Lore Starcutter is technically the official English equivalent of the name, Ship That Soars the Heavens, Lore. Alright. Now, on to Magolor. He carries the title, Magician of Falsehoods. This label for Magolor was actually in his X description for the Wii version. There, it was translated as a liar and a wizard. Iconically terrible, you might say. However, the deluxe version translates it as manipulative mage. Technically right, but I feel like this is lacking a lot of power. At least it's better than how Star Allies translated it as deceiving mage for his guest star description. For the record, Return to Dreamland actually had a novel adaptation released just a bit before the deluxe game came out, and that novel has this subtitle. It's also officially written in English as Lore Starcutter and the Magician of Falsehood, so Magician of Falsehoods is not only the best sounding translation, in my opinion, but also the closest to the official translation from the Japanese side. Now, Magolor X's description doesn't have a title for deluxe, but it actually has a title in the original Wii version. Sure, like I just mentioned, it calls Magolor the Magician of Falsehoods at the end, but at the beginning, it literally has a title, name, and period, like a boss title in the deluxe version would. The title is Magolor, the Traveler from the Distance. Now, when you hear the words Traveler and Distance, the first thing that might pop into your head is the song The Distant Traveler, the racing theme from Kirby's Dream Collection. Well, it's a long story, so let's start from the beginning. As we've established, in Magolor X's boss description in the Wii version, it says, Magolor, the Traveler from the Distance. This phrase is also used in Kirby Wii Music Selection. It is the name of Magolor's theme, which plays inside the lore. Afterwards, Dream Collection came out, with a new theme associated with Magolor for the races. This racing theme would be later remixed for DDD's Drum Dash, and in the process receive an official title. That title, in Japanese, is Traveler Soaring Through Another Sky. But, as we know, the official English name of this track is The Distant Traveler. For whatever reason, it seems like they actually translated the name of Return to Dreamland's Magolor theme and gave it to the Dream Collection theme. But that's not the end of the story. Of course, Return to Dreamland Deluxe gives every song an official name in the jukebox, so the Return to Dreamland theme now has an official English translation, which is Magolor, the Far-Flung Traveler. Meanwhile, there's a new mode called Magolor Epilogue, and it has the subtitle, The Interdimensional Traveler. If we look at the Japanese subtitle, we'll see that this is actually the name of the Dream Collection racing theme. Allow me to digress into something I just noticed right now. This title has the terms Another Sky and Traveler written in kanji, while the middle is in kana. Kanji are Chinese letters, while kana are Japanese letters. There are two types of kana, hiragana and katakana. When you're writing in kanji, you will see kana written above the kanji to indicate how the kanji is pronounced in Japanese. This is called furigana. In the original Drum Dash title, the middle is written in katakana, while the furigana for the kanji is written in hiragana. This is flipped for the epilogue subtitle. The middle is now in hiragana while the furigana is in katakana. So, they've given a more accurate translation for this phrase, but they did not give the original name to the original song. Maybe they thought it would be confusing to switch which song this name referred to, so it's just completely retired now. By the way, you might be wondering about Magalore's return to Dreamland theme in regards to far-flung Starlight Heroes, and whether one of them is a reference to the other. This is not the case. The term distance in Magalore's theme is Kanata, while far-flung Starlight Heroes uses the term Haruka. There actually is a song name in Return to Dreamland that uses Haruka, which is this track. Haruka nara Harukandora. But they translated this as Distant Halkandra. Anyway, what was this video about again? So, moving on to Magalore Epilogue, we have Electric Duder. His title is Electric Guru of Another Sky. Now, this is just my speculation, but this title might be a play on Mr. Duder's title. First, Another Sky and Foreign Nation both start with the Yi character, which means other, foreign, strange, or alien. Then Mr. Duder is called a magician. In his case, he uses a katakana writing of the English word magician, but normally, there are two words in Japanese that could be translated as magician. The one relevant to us is Majutsushi. Magalore's title, Magician of Falsehoods, as well as Taranza's title, Master of Puppetry in English, both use this term in Japanese. If we break down this term literally, Majutsu means magic arts, while Shi means master. Now, looking back at Electric Guru, Den means electricity, and Doshi means guru, monk, or priest. But as you can see, it also ends with Shi, so perhaps you could read Dendoshi as Dendo, meaning electric power, and Shi, meaning master. Is it too much of a stretch? I'll leave you to decide. Next, we have Fiery Puffer, whose title is Lava Beast of Another Sky. But there's actually a pun here. Yogan should be written like this, but they've substituted the Yo character with this character instead, which also reads as Yo. The meaning of this kanji is hard to explain. It's at the front of Yokai, Yosei, Yoma. Yosei is the Japanese term for fairy, and Yokai, Yoma can both be translated as monster, ghost, apparition, demon, or many other things. The Yo character could mean attractive, enchanting, charming, bewitching, abnormal, bizarre, suspicious, creepy, disturbing, calamitous, or many other things. Now, Hydriath. His title says Marine Beast of Another Sky. Maybe the term kaiju here, meaning marine mammal or sea beast or something, is meant to resemble the more well-known Japanese word kaiju, which means monster. Finally, we have Rampaging Doomers. Their title is Flocking Wings of Another Sky. There's nothing much to say here that hasn't already been said at the beginning, so we'll move on to the finale of Magalore Epilogue, with Crown Doomer, who is described as Black-Winged Conqueror. Or as they officially translated it, Subjugator. We could talk a lot about the significance of this term, but I think I will leave that for the next video. Now, we have the Master Crown, which is called the Crown of Domination. Once again, this term here will be the topic of my next video. This first line also says that it's become the mistletoe of the red fruit. This term here is the Japanese name of mistletoe, and literally means parasitic plant, which of course ties with how the Master Crown has thorns and wraps around its hosts like a parasite. This term's meaning as mistletoe is significant as it ties into the Master Crown's music track title, Mishteltik, Tree Crown Without a Ruler. The phrase, tree crown without a ruler, is also at the end of its description. Of course, Mishteltik is the Norse word for mistletoe. Something strange about the localization is that they switched out the word mistletoe, instead using the term wrathful wreath. This actually comes from the True Arena's Magalore Soul description, where the crown is called the One-Eyed Laurel Wreath. It also mentions the title, Crown of Domination again. And with that, we have gone over every boss title in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I could also mention that HRD3 is called an ancient combat machine, while Galacta Knight is called the galaxy's strongest warrior, as he has been since Ultra Super Deluxe soundtrack. Those titles were in the original Wii descriptions, but now, HRD3 is also described as an unfamiliar giant iron soldier. I'm not making splash screens for them because... cry about it. Speaking of, these splash screens were a last-minute idea I had during the making of this video. They probably made this video take twice as long to make. Next time, I want to talk about certain terms used throughout Return to Dreamland's text relating to Magolor and the Master Crown, as I've already mentioned a bit throughout this video. Hopefully it doesn't take me another 4 months to make it. For now, I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments. This has been Faye. I'll see you next time.